Hey everybody, welcome back. 49 days of self-care energy every day. Today we are on day 6, doing the thing, checking Facebook on my phone. Ooh, well, actually saw me today. That's amazing. Let me pop this into a couple of groups so that I don't miss anybody while we are live. So today, if you can see I'm using the banner now, right? It's scrolling along the bottom there, and it is saying, all the things that we cover today, right? So in the acronym self-care, today is the letter A, C.A.R.E. in the care part, and it's about alignment. So alignment is in alignment with the third eye chakra, so third eye chakra healing, and for my acronym of Best You, the O in the U, Best You, is observer, so being in observer mode. So when you think of that higher vibrational energy that we have in the third eyebrow chakra, which it really has that inner, deeper, highest self seeing, right? That connection with divine, with God, source, creator. Being able to see through that lens, through the lens of source, through the lens of unconditional love, through the lens of God, and being in alignment with that, what is above and beyond, if you will, the human or humanness ego part of us, right? So that's our focus for today. Let me say hello. Hi. Hey, love. Hi, Iona. Thanks for hopping on with me. Good to see you as always. Anna says, I got them today, I think. I think you did too, if I heard right. You was like on it. That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So Iona with the Soul Legacy Academy and Spiritual Biz YouTubers Network in the Soul Legacy Journal talks about intentional living codes, which is also in alignment with what I say, like all my other acronyms, right? So today is spiritual freedom, whatever today is, Saturday. Sorry, I always forget the day. Like I can remember what letter we're on, so to speak, or what our focus is for the day and what we're checking in on, right? What we're becoming aware of, assessing, and aligning. But the day of the week, I have to think about that. So today is Spiritual Freedom Friday, Saturday. I said Friday, see? Saturday. Spiritual Freedom Saturday. Time just doesn't work for me. Not in alignment. But it really does align with what we're talking about because spiritual freedom is that highest self, right? It's being in alignment and moving with our soul's guidance, our spiritual guidance, our source guidance, whatever words that you choose to use. But following that spiritual guidance above and beyond that humanness part of us, right? The part of us that wanted, this is me speaking in my own experience, so you can let me know if this resonates with you as well. My human self wanted so much to fit in somewhere, like most of my life, childhood and adulthood, right? Like I had moments of human defensiveness that said I didn't care and I was my own person and I took independence to an extreme and all of those things. However, there was a part of me that wanted to fit in, right? But fitting in means, and I'm not cutting on anyone, this is just my observation of my perspective. Fitting in meant being more in my human and fitting in as that human piece, as more in the ego conditioned programs. So being like other people, right? And I'm just not like other people. And it doesn't mean I'm better or worse than. Some people want to say, oh, well, I'm better than that. I don't mean better than, but also not worse than. Because again, if you're like me and you feel like that misfit sometimes and that you don't fit in and that you feel out of place and out of sorts, then I internalize that as not being good enough and being unworthy because I couldn't fit in, right? So really catching ourselves on that and being mindful of that, that it doesn't mean either way. It just means that you are you and I am me, and we don't have to fit on that humanness level, nor do we really want to, right? Anna says SFS, Saturday. So for anyone who doesn't know, the acronyms or the letters there, SFS stands for Spiritual Freedom Saturday. Iona says, I don't think I wanted to fit in as much as I know I didn't fit in. Yeah, I knew I didn't fit in, but part of me wanted to because it got lonely. right? I felt so alone because I didn't fit in, or it felt like people didn't understand me or couldn't understand me because I didn't fit in, because I was too different, right? Which is part of the reason why we show up now in the way that we do, and that we're trying to do these daily lives, and that we can be supportive with other people, and then kind of say, hey, it's okay if we don't exactly match, and if we don't quote unquote fit in this humanness. You're not alone. You're right. We didn't either. And two, we can fit in together being quote unquote, what I like to say is misfits. We're not really misfits, but we can fit in together as we are, right? We don't have to be the same. We can have our differences and still fit in together and still go on this journey together. Oops, I think I skipped some. Hang on, let's go back right there. Iona says, people tell me I am quote unquote different or unique, right? I normally just heard that. I heard not as nice words as that. I heard words like the too sensitive and weird. My mom would even call me weird. You're just weird. Um, what are some other ones? Odd, strange. Probably those the most. So to me, misfit sounds nicer because I think of that little cartoon movie with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And the island of misfit toys, and Santa delivers them all and whatever. It did remind me of that though, but I thought, oh, here's this little island of misfit toys who actually have a good bond and relationship with each other, who still are loved, right? So I prefer misfit over the odd and strange and weird kind of comments that I used to hear. Iona said I was told that just yesterday, the different and unique. Unique is a nice word though, right? More laughs today. I didn't have that as much when I was little. No, not the different, unique, or not the fitting in part or feeling like a misfit part. I'm not sure which part you were referring to because I blended a whole bunch of stuff together. Truth. Iona says, I remember you coming to SBYN and saying misfit, right? Still fits me. I don't mind. Weird, wow, odd, stranger. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 And I know what that stands for. One of our favorite sayings. I won't say that live. It's still not the same. No, it's not. It's not. Feeling alone stinks, right? So, yeah, there was a point in time when I felt so lonely that, oh man, it's like it hurt, it hurt in my chest. It felt so heavy. Like I can still not feel it the same, but I could still recall. And I can still recall the struggles I had and the things that I would do in the physical to try to help ease that. Like I would literally at night, put my hands on my shoulders and almost like hug myself to not feel so lonely. And it took a minute, but it was like part of my own spiritual growth and process that I bonded. It was like in those moments, though, in those icky, misfitty, humanist ego, alone, lonely moments, that I got to really connect with me, if you will, with God, source, creator. It's like, even though it hurt in the humanness, it opened myself up and allowed myself to receive that bond and connection to the higher, right? To that higher vibrational energy, to pull myself up out of the trenches. As we talked about yesterday, the process was painful and icky. But moving through that was amazing. And then, like, since then, I haven't felt lonely. Like, I love spending time alone and I don't feel lonely. And that used to sound weird to me, but then in reflection, I could also say I can be around a whole bunch of people and feel lonely just because you don't feel that a connection with anyone, and you don't feel that you're in alignment with, where other people are at or with their energies. So it's an interesting process. Now there's another interesting level to that where I don't feel lonely, but there are times when I feel alone that resemble lonely. It's hard to explain. I don't feel it the same way, but there's like an awareness that's coming to the surface, and I haven't fully sifted through and processed it yet. So I am kind of but I'm being mindful of it and I'm allowing it space to show up and be there to show me what it is, right? Because again, I still love my alone time. I need it. Like, I require some time alone, right? Just my moments to recharge and to connect and to meditate and to be in alignment and to clear out old stuff, right? I need that time. But then there are times where I miss certain connections, or the connections that I have in more of my day to day aren't actually in alignment, but or are, but not, are with some things, are with certain values, like family values, but not with other values, like, many other values. Just making it funny. Oh man, I'm glad we can laugh though. Iona says I felt differently from my family. Same here, for real. I'm going to come back to this for a minute just because it pops in my head. So I'm going to share it, right? It pops in, drops in, however we want to say it. But my brother, bless him, my motivation for my movement, right? That brother used to tell me, now when I was a kid, we did not get along at all. Okay, not at all. And I can laugh about it now, but it was a painful experience as a child. But anyway, he used to tell me when I was young, so there's 7 years difference between us. He used to tell me that I was adopted. And that sadly made so much sense to me, right? It made so much sense. I'm like, oh, I felt like that was an epiphany. Not that I knew what that word meant, but that feeling like, that eye opener that, oh, that makes sense. That's why I'm such an oddball and such a misfit and why I can't feel connected and loved, by these people around me. They're not my real family. He was lying. Like, he was just trying to be a rude, mean big brother. Brat. So then when I realized that I really wasn't adopted, that I was actually a blood relative, I don't remember how old I was. I was young now. Remember the conversation. And I'm like, I looked so much like my mom and I had resemblances of my dad. And I'm like, so then I was back to confusion because I didn't know why I was such the misfit in my own family anymore, But again, it's funny to laugh about now. It was really not funny then. It was very hurtful then, but just that level of feeling different. And then what made sense to me as a kid. And it says, yes, that lonely in a crowd, right? It's interesting when you realize that when you can be around so many people and just not feel connected to them. I require it too. Yeah, that alone time is so necessary to recharge and just clear. We do, don't we? We have many values. Um, and some conflict with the others. Like they're not even our list of values. So my thing just said live 1313. So I just want to share that synchronicity. We have these list of values and they don't always meld together or support each other. Some are definitely conflict with the others. Iona says, same, my brother in spirit. We did not get along. We were 5 years apart. Isn't it interesting that we have that in common, a similarity by these people, right? You look double of your mom. I know, like, but as a kid, I didn't notice that. Like, I don't know how much I even looked in a mirror, or made that comparison, or I don't, because I was little, like smaller, probably older than toddler, but I don't know if I was in school yet, or if I was, it wasn't deep into school yet. I was young. But yeah, like my mother's twin, there's no denying that. But again, I was young, I didn't know. But it's just so funny to me now, like, oh, that makes sense. That's why I don't fit in. That's why I'm so different. No, that wasn't it. Right? Because light worker, because empath, because they have a bigger job to do, right? And so we're here showing up to do it. So thank you for that. Memories. Memories. But again, so what's in alignment? And what was coming up for me today was what's in alignment with us, within ourselves, right? With our highest self. So being that observer and how much of it, 1444 this time, And this isn't time, by the way, you guys. It's I'm reading off numbers that are showing up on StreamYard since I'm using StreamYard to stream this live, and it gives you like how much time you're on live. And I just happen to glance at that time, and I'm spilling out the numbers. But the alignment we get, so we have our human eyes, physical human eyes, and we see out away from our body and out away from ourselves, right? So we can easily, in our human, pay attention more outside of self. But today, our reflections of alignment, of our third eye chakra, of being in that observer, of spiritual freedom, is really bringing it back in, right? So, in a sense, closing our eyes, when you think of that sense of meditation, when you're closing your physical eyes to kind of not block out what's outside of you, but to help you kind of just focus within instead of away from. For me, trying to align as a human in humanness and societal world and society was, a struggle. And I did things differently, but I felt they were more in alignment. And I'm reflecting more on like getting into social work when I went that route for a while, decade or so, many years when you include all those years of college. But I always had that desire to help, right? Light worker, that desire to help. And then when you don't know, or you only know what you know, and you're trying to figure out like how you make these pieces fit, when I was introduced to that career, because I didn't really know what that was most of my life. I don't think I had ever heard of that before, till I was a little older, like a young adult. And then when I did, getting to explore that, it seemed like, oh, yeah, that fits. So you fit into this thing, and then you think, because depending on who you're around, college may sound like a great idea, and having a career sounds like a great idea. However, there's still other people around, like family and whomever else, that is like, no, college is not a great idea. Don't do that. That's not the career you should be in. Or my dad, bless him and his, culture and family values. You're a female, you're a girl, you're a mom, and your job, your duty is to stay home and take care of the kids and your family, and that's it, right? But me being more on the independent light worker mode, I want to go help. And not that I wasn't seeing the help I was providing in the home for my kiddos, but then also becoming a single mom, I kind of didn't have the opportunity to just do that, right? Kind of had to pay bills. So didn't want just a job, even though I've worked just jobs before, taking on that role. But then now, 50, okay, 52, but still, the older I get and as things process and time goes on and as we evolve throughout each, year and what have you, reevaluating and realigning again and seeing where and how we want to show up, what is in alignment. So beyond society, because to me in social work even was more acceptable and in alignment with society than in my own. And I didn't recognize that contrast until I did it. And then I would have conversations with other people in that field where I was really starting to feel more of the icky contrast. And that's when it became more aware to me that that wasn't my avenue, right, for helping in the way that I wanted to help, that this is. So that was a big old rant. I hope it made sense. 1444, I know, right? It was kind of cool. Iona said I was going to get into social work, and my brother said, don't, right? When I was in social work, okay, a couple stories, I guess, things that are just popping in, so I'll share them. It's part of this process of vlogging, right? Vlogging. My brother, same brother that said I was adopted, same brother that's in spirit now, had told me to make a difference in the world. Like, he was more supportive. He too, he felt like a black sheep, so a black sheep in the family. Had his own struggles that he didn't find his ways to manage through, or ways that worked for him that managed through, and he questioned spirituality too. So I am very grateful for that time frame of his, as I mentioned yesterday, that what he thought would be the final attempt that wasn't, that he lived through, but had like 13 months. And in that 13 months, we had an opportunity to actually build our relationship. So all that time being brother and sister, you know, it there was some time before then that we got a little bit closer, but it was still very, very distant. Even like physically, we were close. I lived in the homestead. He lived across the field, the house he built. But we didn't spend a lot of time together, but it increased some. The quality of the relationship improved, but it was really between that time frame of those 13 months that we got closer. And he had shared that about spirituality, like, I lived through that for a reason and trying to see and feel purpose in that, and then exploring what that may be, because he really didn't resonate with any of the spiritual awareness that he had, because we kind of grew up on the Christian background. He had, that was more in our childhood, and he didn't stay like connect with it a whole lot, I guess, or stay very active throughout, and then didn't really explore anything outside of that, I don't think. Last he mentioned was like had an interest in Native American spiritual beliefs and was kind of exploring that a little bit. To what degree he didn't share, but it was interesting. But he too felt like a black sheep. But I do think we had more in common than what we realized. And maybe that's why we butt heads when we were younger, because we were just so unknowing and unaware that it had that contrast. But yeah, he was like, make a difference. This world is screwy. Like, yeah, make the world a better place, change it. Hence the movement. So I'm not sure this is what he had in mind, but I'm on it. On it. Yep, don't do that. That's something. Just jobs. I know. Like they serve a purpose for a little while, right? But yeah, that's definitely not my calling. You know, 50, okay, 52. Couple more years. It's just time. Time's an illusion. Yeah, definitely for serving. Absolutely. Iona says, I was super close to my brother in the end, and he would buy the magazine Spirit and Destiny. How neat is that? That's really cool. Love that. I love it too. You're on it. Thank you. I hope that means in a good way. I could feel myself ranting and rambling, but it seems fitting, it's great in reflection. And I think too, I'm preparing to share more as time goes on, right? So Iona was just talking to me earlier about, sorry, distracted with those numbers. Talking to me earlier about my sharing my spiritual awakening story, and there's so many pieces to it, right? And there's more than one, and then one adds to another. So really just reflecting on that, speaking more about my movement and my why, right? The things that bring us here. It was really interesting to me yesterday, though, on those levels or layers of how we hide, because I hadn't made that connection like knowingly in my awareness. I hadn't actually made it, didn't click that connection until yesterday about how we hide certain pieces. But yet, I think that was my sabotage to not share it, right? Because why wouldn't I? Like now, it's like that doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't I share it when that's the whole reason and purpose, or the thing that has motivated me or driven me, or um, I'm looking for the word, ignited, initiated, the reasoning behind it all. Iona says, "On what your brother told you that to do, right?" Yes. Oh, yeah, I'm on it. Making those changes, making a difference in the world, for sure. Again, I don't know that that's what he had in mind, but I don't feel he would have any complaints. I don't think he knew at the time. Like he knew there was something, but it was a different, when he actually said that, it was at a different point in time. So it was before that attempt that he made. So, but still, I was in school. So, here's the other part of the story that kind of stinks, really. It was hard, hard. So, I just got like a rush of heat. When my brother made that very massively lethal attempt that he survived through, I was signed up for my courses because I was still a student in college, but college has its semesters. We had semesters. So the class I was going into, I was signed up for that I had to take, it's required, is a crisis intervention course. Talk about the F and H, okay? That you uh, typed in there, Iona. In crisis intervention, one of the biggest things you cover in that course is, right? But suicide. And then we were doing like mock practices. See, I still get lightheaded on that. That was tough. Have mock practices of call-ins, right? Like, so if you were the social worker working at a suicide hotline, then you had your classmate and then you took turns kind of pretending that role of the call-in so that you would have practice being the one making that call, right? So fortunately, my professor was willing to work with me and team me up with someone who I actually carpooled with to go to school, so I knew her. We worked together, and not that it's another easy topic because it's still a crisis intervention, but we worked with, we had a rape crisis call in. There was no win situation in this whole thing, right? Just none. So going to class, every time I had a class and every assignment that I had, and you're still in a classroom and you still have to hear your classmates share their stuff and go through their activities and their assignments. So you're still hearing it and it's still very much in your face. Like there was no opportunity to avoid dealing with that stuff because it was literally in my face hard. So that was a thing. It was hidden, wasn't it? Yeah. Deep stuff. Did you? The crisis thing, it was craziness. Yeah, well, sometimes the soul is rude. Silly. No win. It was tough. It was really tough. I mean, I made it through. I made it through, but it was tough. It's blows my mind how things, drink water, how things come to us. Like we talk about those awakenings, right? And again, I'm seeing that video of the guy rolling down the hill and the bumps and the just getting all kinds of beat up, right? Going down the hill. Yeah, I like that. hmm hmm Kind of like that. Iona says spiritual awakening is rude. 1,000,000%. And then we have more than one. I mean, that in itself is rude. But it is layers, like, isn't it? It is layers. And it's probably a really good thing that we have more than one, meaning that it's spread apart. Because when you think how intense one awakening is, could you imagine having them all at the same time? Like, whew. So alignment, aligning with our highest self. And really, though, I am grateful because after each of my awakenings and even all these difficulties that we managed to move through, brings me more into alignment with my highest self. It allows me to stop hiding, right? And it's a great reminder for myself too that, that how we say it to ourselves. If I could get through that, right? So in different whatever that is for you. If I could get through that, I can get through this. So if I can get through that, I can show up on a daily live and talk about things, right? If I can get through that, I can tell y'all why I have a self-love movement, right? Without dancing around it like I was before. If I could get through that, right? I can hop on here and say, hey, you guys, I truly believe that if we all love ourselves enough, and enough means just enough, like just enough. It doesn't have to be rude and only us and cut everyone else off in that extreme measure. I just mean if we could love ourselves enough, suicide wouldn't be a thing. So let's end it. Let's together end suicide. Iona says, no thanks. I know, right? I wouldn't want to do all those at the same time. No way. No way. Iona says, true. Thank you, right? If we can get through all that, we can get through this. We can show up and stop hiding and serve deeper and deeper and really make a difference in the world. And that's what we do. That's why we're empathic healers. That's why we identify or see ourselves or resonate with labels like light workers and helpers and healers and whatever word that you choose to use, alchemist. I know there's many others out there, but that's okay. It's okay. Whatever it is, there's a reason for it, right? So let's do it. I love that perspective. Thank you. Thank you. So aligning with our highest self, aligning with, as Iona says, our vision and our mission, right? We have that movement. What is your why? I knew what my why was, but I would still dance around it because of fears, because of fear of what someone might say or what someone might do. Or and let's just stop with that, right? I'm done with that. Thank you, ma'am. Being the observer of ourself, of what's going on around us, but not over focusing on the outside world around us, right? Enough to see our connection with it. Because again, as Iona mentioned in her live today, we are all connected. We say it, we know it, but then it's like we seem to forget about it, right? Or we don't, we only piece it in certain situations or make that connection at certain times, and we don't see it all the time. So being that observer, being in that awareness that we are all connected. So if I'm hiding, feeling like lonely and hurt and stuck and all the icky things, full of blame, shame, and guilt, or resentment and burnout, or whatever it may be, there's a pebble in the water, right? That it creates a ripple effect energetically, spiritually speaking. We're all connected. So now, how am I affecting the collective? Hence the monthly energy, the collective energy clearing call that we have so that we can come together, right, and start to clear for ourselves in the collective, having the spiritual freedom to show up as ourselves, our highest selves, our true selves, not the human egoness part that is afraid and feels alone, right? That's not our true self. That's not spiritual freedom. Another rant, huh? I'm the ship and defo ripple, right? It is a ripple effect. And I'm sure other people have heard of that as well. Um, am I forgetting something? Iona's call also is on the first Monday of the month. And I still don't have your link put in here. I'm sorry. And here we are. And so it is. I love that. Absolutely. Yes, I'm going to say that again. And here we are. And so it is. The journey is lit. That it is. But I love this journey and I love how we're on it. I love how we are walking our talk, how we are, thank you, I'm putting that right there so I don't forget, how we're walking our talk, how we're showing up for ourselves every day as our own part of the collective, and how we're sharing. So for whoever it resonates with, whoever else might need to hear it, it's there and available for them to hear it when they need to hear it, right? So whether it's today, tomorrow, doesn't matter, it's there. And I love that. Light work and lifestyle balance, right? Homework, so I don't forget. Thank you, Iona, for that reminder. For alignment today, as always, check in with yourself, right? You can use anything that we talked about today. If you can reflect on, are you, some questions you might ask yourself, am I, are you, am I focusing on everything outside of me, or am I taking time to look within? Am I being the observer, or am I just kind of sucked in? Like, so am I hamster wheeling with my thoughts? Am I just on autopilot? Or am I able to be the observer? Am I aware of what I'm thinking throughout a day? Am I aware of what I'm feeling throughout the day? Again, am I checking in with my body and mind, body, and soul? So do I notice any physical tensions, any physical pain? And if so, what is that directing me to? Like, is it due to, am I aware that I had a physical injury and this is why it hurts? Do I see a connection with the energy in my chakras, right? Am I feeling headaches? Don't always assume that things are underactive and heavy blocked in that aspect. Sometimes energy is overactive and can cause pain and discomfort as well. We want that, what we call balance or harmony in the energy, right? So sometimes we just need to slow it down a little bit. Either way, what does it mean for you? What else? Journal on your experience, whether it's pen and paper, whether you like to do it digitally or on an app, verbally, whether you have a buddy that you journal with, have a journal buddy. There you go. Communicate it. Do a video journal for yourself or share it if you would like. Again, in the Facebook group, if you would like to share a post, whether it's a picture or just text it out. Do a live, do a video on what you notice for yourself as you reflect in on your own journaling process. As you check in, kind of ask yourself too, am I in alignment with, right? Assess where you're at. Is this where I want to be? Is this how I want to feel? Are these the things I want to think about? Is this what I want to focus on right now? If not, what can you do? What are you going to do? What is the step you can take? And journaling is already one of them that you can do to then get in alignment with it. So that is the homework. Thank you for that reminder. Iona says it's cool. Awesome. Truth bomb, spiritual awareness, right? Really matters, doesn't it? It really, really matters. So thank you, Iona, again for spending this time with me. Thank you, everyone, for sharing this time and space. Don't forget to check the description box for all the links. And I will drop the link to the monthly call in the comment section below the video. So much love to you. See you tomorrow.